Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back to our third week of the coffee table book. Today we are going to do the very first section in our coffee table book, and so I have here, I think, the things that I'm going to use. Hopefully I have everything I need here, but and a few things that I just wanted to also just point out. I do have these fasteners that I'm going to use. I'm just going to use one of them. But if you don't have the fasteners, you can still punch holes in your pages that we're going to put in, and then just put a piece of string through there and tie the string together. It doesn't have to be this type thing. I just got those and I like them from when I was younger, so that's what I want to use. And then I have some Sharpie markers. I have a long edge stamp, some colors of permanent ink, a file folder. We're going to need some paper, and I'm going to make a pattern on this paper that I'm going to use to copy. But if you don't have a copy machine, you just make yourself more than one page. So you don't have to have everything that everybody that you're watching has. You just have to figure out how to do it on your own. Now, I also want to give you a little bit of a tip. As a crafter, we become collectors. And, oh, that's a good deal. So we buy one, but maybe we should buy two or maybe even three. I have had these Sharpies for a long time, and I looked to see if I could find a date on them, and I did. The date is 2000, copyright 2015. So these are 8 years old. So the thing is, I wanted to use color Sharpies, and which you could actually use color watercolor markers too, but I just had these with all these pretty bright colors, and I have a feeling this is going to be a bright book. I'm normally not a bright person, but for some reason, this year I have really been, for the last few months, I've been feeling very bright. So we're going to do this page at least in bright colors. Maybe, because I don't know for sure if these are dried out or not. You have to remember, there are certain things, tape, glue, markers, paint, different types of mediums that you do not want to collect ahead of time. If you get a really good deal on string, go for it. Buy a bunch of it. It's going to last forever, unless you leave it somewhere where it could rot. But it's really going to last a long time. Paper, great. It'll last, so long as you have a place to store it. That's number 2. But the biggest thing is anything that has any type of, is any type of a liquid, as markers. That's what's inside that marker, is a liquid. If they dry out, then you've wasted your money. Now, the one thing you can do with Sharpies, because they are, they're permanent marker, and the name doesn't come to me. But anyways, you can try, if they're dried out and you're going to throw them away anyways, you pull the nib out and you drop in some rubbing alcohol and let that kind of reconstitute the tube of color that's in there. It may work, it may not, depending on how dried out it is. If they're watercolor pens, take the nib out and try putting a few drops of water in there. And maybe even a drop of glycerin, because that helps the water to not dry out with the water, not with the alcohol. But we're going to open these, and hopefully, fingers crossed, because they still have a lid on, because it's a good manufacturer, because it was in this hard plastic, hopefully they'll still be good. But that was something I did want to point out, because I do have a bad habit of collecting, sometimes too many. I have lots of paints that have dried out because I have collected too many. So just remember that that's any kind of a liquid medium. You don't want to collect too many too far ahead of time. It is definitely packaged really well, so hopefully That will have made a difference. All right, flip this over, just so they don't all go all over the place. I can keep them in there until I go put them away. So let's see. Let's get just a test paper here. Oh, here, we'll just use the back of our thing here and see. Oh, good. They still work. So see, I might not have made my point, but if these were all dried out, it would have made my point. And that one is a little drier than the other one. I can tell by the feel of it. If I were to use it like a lot of continuous lines, it might not want to continue. But, okay, so they didn't dry out. Thank goodness they didn't dry out, but do be careful about those things. So you don't want to be disappointed later on. And really, part of the disappointment really becomes, I wasted my money. Okay, so what are we going to do today? We're going to do the first page of our coffee table book. And so this side I'm going to decorate, and I haven't decided how I'm going to decorate that yet, but I'm going to show you the mechanical part. And a lot of this I may show you the mechanical part and then come back and just show you the completion next week. And the reason is because I don't have tons of time. Sometimes it's like I want to get in and show you the mechanics of it, because decorating, I'm going to do bright colors. You might like muted tones. You might like really dark tones, really light tones, creams and whites and whatever. So what I'm going to do to decorate it may not be what you want to do, but the construction is what I want to show you so that you'll be able to, if you like the way that I'm doing it, do yours that way too. So what we're going to do is we are going to build on this very first page. This was hard for me to decide. I couldn't decide what is this first section going to be. And then I decided it's going to be the guest book section. It's going to be where people sign in. But then it's like, but how long do I want to keep this? I want to keep it a really long time. So will I have enough pages? How many pages do I put in? That's where this comes in. But like I said, you don't have to have this. You can just put your holes in your file folder where we're going to put our papers in and just put string through there. That works too. So let me see if I need to see if I have a hole punch here, which I do. Good. Okay, so we are going to put our guest book on this side, and then we'll decorate this side. And so how are we going to make our guest book? I'm going to use a file folder. Obviously, this is the way a file folder goes, and that's the way I was going to do it. And then I had my piece of paper, and I put my paper in here. I wanted to cut this off right even here because I didn't want this section with the shapes. And so I put that in there, and I thought, if I cut it off there, the paper's going to stick out. It might get kind of funky, you know, like messed up and everything. And I don't think I'll really like it sticking out like that. So then it was like, well, what am I going to do? I guess, I don't know. And then I decided. This is getting glued down. So if it's getting glued down, there's no reason I can't glue it down this way and cut this one the size of the paper. The paper will be sitting here where you won't really see that. You'll see a little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom, but it's not going to matter if it's in a little bit. And what I'm going to do where I cut it off and it's in a little bit, I'm going to stamp, just edge stamp there. And so I looked at that to see, okay, now I'm going to cut it off right here. Excuse me. I'm going to cut it off right here. And maybe I should cut it off even further in. See if this will give me kind of a measurement. By going that far. Yeah, maybe a letter or so might show up on the edge here. Excuse me. Now, of course, I'm going to get a tickle. And I'm going to stamp on that, so that little bit's not going to make a difference. Originally, I was thinking I was going to cut it off right here. And if I did that, only this much of my book would show, and there is nothing there, so I didn't need any more gesso. I wanted to make sure that I only am going to do one thing of gesso on each page, and then if I need more when I get to that page, then I'll just add more. But since we're going to be collaging and gluing and everything else, the gesso is more to get stuff to stick than it is to cover up what's there. But there will be times I may need to cover it up. All right, so I'm going to just cut this with my guillotine cutter to the size that I want it. It does fit inside my book, so I do not have to cut it any shorter. I want it to be, I'm going to put my piece of paper in here. This is the back of what I would consider the file folder, but we're going to make it the front of the file folder. So I want it to be bigger than my paper, and so I don't really want to cut it on that little lip there. I'm going to cut it right straight down there, and then I can just round both corners. So I'm just going to cut that tab off and see how that does. Line it up nice and straight and cut that off. Okay, so now let's make sure that that's going to fit in our book. So I'm going to put it in there. It's going to look like this. And that's not really going to fit that well. So I guess I am going to take it back pretty much to where that paper is. All right, so I'm going to take it right back to right around there. Now we're going to put our fastener in there, and our fastener is going to move the paper out a little bit. This is another thing, something that I thought I had the whole thing figured out, but now something's popped into mind. If I put this here, that means that my paper, well, I guess, yeah, because you've got to have the holes punched in just a little bit on your paper. Okay, so that will fit. I was thinking that that was going to move my paper way out here. All right, so that should work okay. We might actually have to trim just a touch of our paper by the time we get done, but that should work okay. So let's continue. So that paper, well, we know the paper is 8.5 inches wide. So I'm going to make this 8.5, and then I'm going to go back about 1/8 of an inch. Give me just a little bit extra. And then because I don't want this one like this glued into my book like that, I'm going to cut this off straight, right from this mark here. And there we go. That's what's going to get glued in our book. And now at this point, you could just go ahead and put in lined paper. I have a thing about this kind of lined paper. I don't know why, but to me, it's just not my favorite thing. I like lines on the paper because I can't write straight for anything. But the blue papers with the red lines and the holes, and it's like a lot of times if I do use paper like this, I will cut off the holes at the very least. Sometimes I'll cut it from red line to red line and just have a thin piece of paper with just the lines on it. And again, I don't know why, just because. So I'm going to, what I did was I took 2 pieces of paper and I just taped it right down the middle, just taped them together. Then I took my ruler, because I know my paper is only 8.5 inches wide. I don't have to go all the way off the edges. I just went ahead and I decided I didn't want to do one line because that was really, really skinny. And I'm going to make my lines with colored markers, so that's going to be a little bit of a fatter line than this really thin blue line. So I decided to do every other line. And so I just kind of put it there, lined it up kind of with one of the red lines, and just barely under the blue line, and I drew a line. Skipped a line and did it again, and did it all the way down, because this line is now 12 inches wide. That's wider than my paper, which is what I need, because we're going to draw lines on our plain white paper. So I'm going to tape this down because I don't want it to move. And then I'm going to tape down the top paper because I don't want it to move either. Just a little teeny tiny piece of tape will hold that. Oh, especially since I'm almost running out. Alrighty, so there we go. So we're just taking a little tiny piece of tape, just putting it there. You want to put too much bulk in the middle. You want to have a nice flat background. And then I'm just going to take this. Now, I have to decide how much extra do I want at the top, because at the top I'm going to write, I believe what I have decided on is who, when, and why. And not in that order. First, I think I want to do who. And then why. And then when. So I'm going to put that across the top of my paper. So when they come, they can sign in. Who are they? Why did they come? Is it a dinner party? Is it a game party? Was it Christmas? Was it New Year's? And then what is the date? So, and also then I have to decide kind of, do I want to make it kind of cute and fancy? Like, I don't know. I don't even know like what. So I want to have extra at the top. How much extra do I want to have at the top? I'm going to line this up. We've got one extra line at the bottom here. So that will leave a little gap at the bottom. I like that. I want to make sure that this is straight. So I'll line that up with that bottom piece of paper. And then all I have to decide is, where do I want to start at the top? I need a piece of tape. Hold it down. Just a little bit on my paper because I don't want to rip it. And this is not the best releasing tape. A little bit at the bottom. Because especially since I'm going to make this and then I'm going to use it to to copy. I'm going to copy it on the copy machine. So I think if I were to leave it right here, that's a very small space. That's pretty much the same as this. So I think I will start my first line here. And that will leave me basically 2 of these spaces at the top in case I want to do something cute. Because I could do something cute at the top and then do the who, why, and where underneath much smaller. And I don't know exactly what to put at the top. If you can think of something, let me know. Like, you know, I don't even know how to say it because I don't know exactly what I'm thinking. But, you know, something like check-in or, you know, something like that across the top that's cute. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use those lines to be able to draw a nice straight line. Because like I said, I can't draw a straight line for anything or keep them straight. Even if I think they look straight, by the time I get to the bottom, I've got a big gap on one side and a little gap on the other. And they still, to me, look straight. So that is why I did these lines on the back, so that I could see through the paper and do something. So let's do, okay, I'm going to start with a couple colors of blue. And do I want to do just a plain old line? I think I want to do maybe like a dot and a dash. Kind of like dash, dash, dash. They don't have to be the same size, but they can. I got a ruler right there. So why couldn't they be? Because I'm not paying attention. All right. Then I can either leave the ruler there to do my dots, or I can move it and just do the dots between. Maybe I'll just leave it there so I don't get, it's kind of in the way. Just put a turquoise dot between them. That's my first line. And there we go. There's my first line, and then I have the next line. Now, sometimes when you use permanent markers, and yes, they will dry fast, but they will also, because they're permanent ink, one will reconstitute the other, so it doesn't hurt to do just a quick wipe across your ruler before you do another color. So maybe we'll do orange and yellow. And with this one, maybe I will just do a dot in yellow. Again, maybe I should have paid attention and done them the same distance, but I'm not paying attention, so it's all right, because it doesn't need to be perfect. I always say it just looks organic if it's not perfect. It also looks homemade. Doesn't look like it was made in a factory. That's where you get perfection. And even then, sometimes factory stuff isn't perfect either. So instead of a dash this time, I'm going to do a little kind of like swoosh. Just kind of. And there's still enough room between those two lines for them to write what they need to write. You could do solid lines. You could do all dots or all dashes. Let's go with purple next. And you can just alternate. If you can't think of a... All right, let's see if I actually pay attention to... I really don't really care to pay attention. It makes the videos too long. So you can go ahead and repeat patterns. One thing with the markers is, especially, these are very juicy markers, you need to keep moving or they leave a dot. Just do the light color purple between the dark lines. There we go. Then how about pink? And just a dashed line of pink with no other color with it. And you can even keep your colors out so that if you want to repeat the patterns, you can repeat the same colors. Or if you want to repeat the patterns, you can make sure you don't use the same colors. So there we go. There's a dotted pink line. And for people to know that those are lines, if you're afraid they won't know, on the side you could number the lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And at the very bottom where we're going to have that little extra space, page 1. And then page 2 and page 3, that type of thing. So let's see here. Ooh, we don't have any greens yet. Let's go with, let's just do the dark green and the light green with the dots and dashes. We'll just start repeating so I don't have to think of another pattern. You could do little X's like a cross stitch. And so on and so forth until you get all the way to the bottom of the paper. I'm not going to do all of them because that will take too long. So I'm going to set this aside and finish it up. And then what I'm going to do is take copies of this page. And I'm probably going to do, to start with, I'm thinking 10 Probably 10 pages. 10 pages will probably last quite a long time because how many lines do we have here? We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 10 pages would be 170 visits from people. Although each individual could also fill out their pages. So that may be a long time for your household or not a long time for your household. All right, so now we're going to put this one in our book to hold our pages. And I need to figure out what I did with my one of these, and I don't know what I did with this. I'm just going to get out another one. So now, because I'm not going through the front and the back, I don't know that I want to punch through the front and the back, but I'm going to have to. So that means that I will just put something decorative down here. That'll be the easiest way to do it. If you have a long neck punch, you could do it that way, which actually I do have one, but no, I don't. I have a long neck stapler that would reach that, but I don't know that my punch would. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to say, because it's me, I'm not going to measure. I'm going to put this right here. And you also could do it with like an X-Acto knife on the inside and just put a little slit and a little slit. And then when you fold this up, it's going to come through those slits. That would work also. As a matter of fact, maybe I will do that. Okay, so I'll grab an X-Acto knife. Let's see. Put this cardboard behind it so I don't cut into my table, and don't cut too hard. So I'm going to put this on the back. These are going to fold up and come through to the front. I would pretty much want them right on the edge. That looks about in the middle. I would prefer a pencil. I'm going to go from here to here, and here to here. A few light cuts so that I'm not pushing hard enough to go through that bottom cardboard that I put under there. I'll lift it up and see if I went through. Yes, I did. Do this one over here. Yep, I think that that's probably going to be okay. Let's see if it will be or not. No, this has some sticky on it. But first I'll fold it up to make sure it's going to fit before I take that off. Yep, that'll fit in there just fine. So I'll go ahead and take that off. And put that back through there. And also with these kind of colored folders, which I got these at a garage sale. Actually, I think I got them at a farmer's market. But you can always decide, do you want the light color out or the dark color out? You can always flip them one way or the other. So there we go. My pages are going to go on there. And then these will fold over to hold those pages down. And when I was a kid, they used to, they had a little metal slider that like these overlapped a bit and then the slider went back and forth to hold them down, which now they just hold themselves down. But we can take a piece of regular paper and, or even like what we had left here, except we want it wide enough to cover up both of those. So we could take something like this and fold it over and fold it over, glue that together, You could even put a little bit of decoration on it, making sure you don't go past the fold. And then you could take that once it's dry, and you have your papers in there and everything, and then you can slide it on there like that. And that will hold those so that they don't pop up or anything like that. And I would make it a little closer to the size. This is a little bit wide, a little closer to the size of this. But we could do that too. So I will probably do something like that, so that that can hold. And then it slides up to here, you know, to open them up. And then you take it off to put your papers on. And then slide it back on. And then hold the two together. So... and if you have your holes punched here, or punched wherever you want holes in your paper, or wherever if you use the regular notebook paper, you could even put 3 holes in there, or just the top and the bottom, and then just put a string up through there, because we're going to glue this down now. So you'll want to put your holes in, put your string through, and leave some nice long ends. Just put your string right through the back, come up through the hole, and then leave those there so that you can tie them together. After you put all of your papers on, tie them in a bow so you can untie it and add more. You can replace the papers when they're all used, or you can just add to them, whichever you feel like doing. But that way you can have them for a really long time. All right, so now we've got that, and we are going to move that over just a little bit. Because once it's glued down, I won't be able to. Oh, it is glued down because I taped it, remember? So it is what it is. Can't change it now, so there's no point, what my mom always used to say, no point in crying over spilled milk. So now we're just going to put some glue on here. Oh, before we do that, because we're going to glue this in our book now. Here's our book. Here's the page we're going to decorate. This is where this is going to go. That's going to butt right up there nicely like that and glue down. But before I do that, I wanted to stamp right here. And I'm just going to use this border stamp, which is not quite as long as the book. There's about 1/4 of an inch at the top and the bottom. So, but I'm going to use it anyways, and I'm not going to worry trying to line it up because I didn't make this one to line up. I can tell that this one is pretty much in the middle and this one's over to the edge. If you want your stamps to line up, all you have to make sure is wherever this end, if you want this line to line up with this line, you just have to make sure that they're both the same distance from the edge and from the opposite edge, I believe. Let's see. If you were to stamp like, anyways, we're not going to go into that today. But this is just a stamp I made. It's on a piece of fun foam, scrap fun foam, or foam core board. And then it is a piece of fun foam that I glued on there, drew this decoration in the fun foam, and that made my stamp. And I'm going to use some turquoise and brown to stamp along that edge. And blue. This is manganese blue, aquamarine, and sepia. All right, so I'm going to do the brown towards the center. And I don't want a ton of the brown. I'm going to do some here and maybe here. And then we'll just, I can't tell if it's on there or not. Some of the turquoise. That is the one thing about not cleaning off your stamps when you use them. Is then you can't tell the next time you want to use them where your ink's at and where it's not. All right, I'm not 100% sure if I have ink all over the whole thing, but that's okay. I don't mind that. So I'm just going to line up with the edge of the page. Kind of made a mistake there. I set it down a little bit and then slid it over. You can see a little bit of ink there, so hopefully it's not super smudged there. But we're not going to see much of it anyways. It's just there for a little bit of interest. And you don't push hard, because you don't push the pattern out of your stamp. You just want to make sure that it makes contact everywhere. So you really kind of just massage it and give it time for the ink to go from the stamp onto your page. Let it soak in. And there we go. Oh, I like the way that that turned out. Okay, so there is that. And I like that look. Okay, so now we've got our back side. How did I do that? Look at what I did. When I was putting the ink on the stamp, must be. Okay, well, that's right. We're going to decorate that side anyways, but it doesn't hurt anything. Make it look a little more purposeful. Yeah, good enough. Okay. And that's the thing. Remember, it's all about having fun. And there we go. That looks good too. That fits really pretty perfectly. So we're just going to put this on with tacky glue. Ooh, I had this upside down. Did I turn it right side up when I wasn't looking? Alrighty. I'm going to set my book aside and grab a piece of glue paper, because I don't want to get glue all over everything. So I'm going to do it this way. There we go. And because this is going to be held in this book basically forever, it's not coming in and out, and it's going to be holding those pages. It will be opened and shut quite often, hopefully. I'm going to put quite a bit of glue on it. And then you're just going to take that glue and spread it out. You can use a credit card or anything to do that. Using the wrong side of my scraper. And I need some more glue up here. And you just want to make sure that you put enough glue on it. And it doesn't have to be totally overdone, but it has to get to the edges. That's the most important part. If you get your edges well, you're going to be good. That feels much better. There we go. Oop. I don't want any big glops of glue. All right. Get rid of this. Bring the book back in. All right, now just line this up because it basically is the same size as the book. I'm going to push this down. want to make sure that I make good contact everywhere. And then I'm going to put a piece of parchment in here so that it doesn't stick my cover down. There we go. And I'm going to take a few of my book pages. Put a few of them on top. Because remember, we have all the gaps of where we took all of those pages out. And so then I'm just going to put in a few here and there. You don't have to worry about, when I started out, I would have put one set of pages between each set of pages here. You don't have to do that. And you don't even have to put all of them that you took out. You just want to get some so that when you set this down and put something on it to hold it nice and tight while it dries, that it's going to let pressure go everywhere. So this is what it looks like now, though. We've got this here. We are going to have our pretty little pages here with some kind of a heading. And it might even just say the coffee table book at the top. I don't know. But it'll have some kind of a heading. And then it will have this. And then we will put this into our file folder. I'm going to do 10 of them. I have decided that's what I'm going to do. 10 sounds like a good number to me. And then next week, we will decorate this other side, I think. So that's where we are right now. We're going to have our cute little pages for people to sign in on. I like the colors. Like I said, I'm not sure what's happened, but all of a sudden bright colors just are me. So that's what we're going to do. Thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that you're enjoying this series, and I hope that the mechanics are okay with you. I mean, I know that a lot of people are doing the let's make pretty ephemera and stuff, but you need some place to put the ephemera. So we really need a good base, and there's a lot of people showing you how to do the ephemera, so I really want to show you how to do the base. And we will do some ephemera, but, you know, at this point in time, we kind of just need to get the book itself kind of together to then decide what goes where pockets will go and that type of thing. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Share this around if you're enjoying this video with your other crafty friends. If you think that they would like it, I would really appreciate that too. Thanks again, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.